Greetings, everybody. Welcome to RacerXOnline.com. I am Chris Kiefer. To the right of me is Mike Ulrich. He is the Media Relations Manager at Yamaha Motor Corporation. And what you guys are looking at right now is the 2021 WR450F. It's off-road time. It's getting a little bit warmer out here in California. So guess what? It's getting warmer back east where you guys want to go do some off-road riding. It's starting to warm up. We're getting out of the house now. Quarantine's starting to let go a little bit. So guess what? We're out here testing this brand new. That's what I want to say, because last time I talked to Mike, I said, hey, not a lot of changes, and he corrected me. So I'm going to stay right here, right now, and say there is a lot of changes to the WR. So give us a breakdown of what has evolved, I guess, from last year for this WR.
Yeah, so basically the bike is now the latest generation, same as the YZ. So all the changes that we made to the YZ in 2020 with the frame, the engine, the new head, which is much more compact. And actually we got really good response as those changes being very positive, making it a much better bike. All those changes have been carried over to the WR as well as the FX.
For me, what I like about off-road riding is a little bit of freedom. You get to go more than 20, 30 minutes. Although I do not do it as much, out here in the high des, we do like to get out. So the thing about off-road, what you want out of an off-road bike is durability. Being that this WR is more geared towards the YZ, what have you guys done here to gear it towards the off-road specific rider that want to buy this bike?
Yeah, so it is still meant mainly for off-road riding, and it has a lot of the off-road features such as a 18-inch rear wheel, O-ring chain, has the meter for like basically all the enduro features that you would need for either racing enduros or just keeping track of your mileage while you're off-road riding. Bigger 2.1 gallon gas tank, a more protective skid plate, as well as a radiator fan that comes stock on the WRs. So that's actually an accessory that you can also buy for the FX, but on the WR, where we expect, especially on the East Coast, for people to use it in the tight woods to keep the temperatures down, that comes stock.
One thing that I love about a Yamaha, and you guys know watching this, is the suspension package. KYB does an amazing job. Yamaha has been the leader in having comfortable suspension for years now. They haven't shied away from the spring fork, which I appreciate. Again, Mike, class-leading suspension, what has changed, or what are the differences from the YZ to the WR?
Yeah, so basically the suspension is the same stuff that's on the YZ, the same components. However, we do come up with specific off-road settings. So the WR has its own different valving. It has a lighter spring rate, and along with the changes that we made to the chassis, I think we got the benefits of the good stability and compliance, but then also added a little more comfort with this specific setting for the WR.
So just looking on my cheat sheet here, 4.6 Newton millimeter front fork spring compared to a 5.0 that is on the YZ, and the rear spring rate is 56 compared to a 58 that is on the YZ. So a little bit softer. Again, you want that comfort, you want some more plushness riding off-road. I'm going to go test this stuff out on the trails here. We're going to hit some rocks, some roots, some whoops. There's going to be a lot of whoops out here on the West Coast. So we're going to ride this and see if it is still the class leader. Another thing, too, that I want to mention before we start riding is the engine hanger. The front engine hanger is a little bit different than the YZ. Obviously, for more compliancy, out on off-road, you want to have a little bit of softer feel. So there are off-road specific things to this WR versus the YZ. So what we're going to do, I'm going to grab Mike, another guy, and of course the guy behind the camera. We're all going to go for a ride. I'm going to feel this sucker out. Yes, you East Coast guys watching this, you're going to yell at me on the comments below. It's not East Coast conditions. This is what we have right now. I'm going to try to get some West Coast tight single track as much as we can. And I'll come back here with an opinion, maybe some settings and thoughts about this WR450, so stay tuned. right, guys, I'm back from a trail ride. It was a fun day. Man, couldn't ask for better conditions out here in the high des. Overcast, a little bit of rain, thunder showers. Was a fun day. Now, before I move on with this video and talk about what I feel on the WR450, I want to note that I'm not blind to the fact that this isn't East Coast conditions. I don't have roots. It's not slippery. And even Northern California conditions, because I get hit up a lot and say, Kiefer, you know Southern California isn't all of California. I get it. I understand. I just want to give you my opinion on what I feel like this bike does well and what it doesn't. And this is the conditions that we have here. I would love to go back east and do more testing. Maybe Racer X, cough, cough, can pay for that, and we will go back east. But until then, this is where we're at. So moving on and forward, things that I noticed that are better on the 21 versus last year's WR and previous models is the frame change that Yamaha made makes the WR feel lighter side-to-side movement. Like doing a foot plant, swinging it around in tighter trails and conditions. It just feels like, if I can explain to you at home, it feels like it's a little bit more solid, so a firmer feel, but yet lighter side-to-side. So it just feels like a little bit more nimble to me than last year's WR. It also doesn't have that wallow and big, what I call Big Bertha feel. I don't like that Big Bertha, Big Blue feel. It felt like it was a big tank when I got in tighter conditions. Man, what a difference this frame makes on this bike, and especially with this engine character. The engine character is still very lively and free, but what I do like about it, and it's hard to explain to you guys at home, is when I get a free feeling in an engine, it doesn't mean that it's very good in luggable situations. And if you don't know what luggable is, lugging your bike is what you want to do as an off-roader. When you're trying to climb some cobby hills or you're in a tight, snotty area, you want to lug your bike to get the most traction possible. Usually when you have a free engine, these things don't lug very well. But this WR engine does lug very well in second gear. I will say the transmission ratios that they are using in this WR for 2021, first gear, man, it is very, very low. Like, I'm shifting right away. If I'm going to downshift into first gear and somewhere tight, I feel like I want to cover the clutch and shift into second because I have more pulling power. First gear just runs out real quick. Again, maybe you guys on the East Coast, you need that low gear, but just know that you'll be able to have that here with this transmission in the WR. I mostly here in the high des and the trails that we have, I'm in second gear and third gear, covering the clutch. I do like that the overall character of the engine is it's quiet. I still get some suction noise from the intake up front, but the muffler itself is very quiet. So when I was riding out to these trails today, I was thinking, I'm not going to get a lot of excitement because this muffler is so choked up. Yes, it is, but I have so much horsepower along with this choked up muffler that it almost balances it out. And what I mean by that is I still have enough recovery that I can fan the clutch a little bit and get back up into the meat of the RPM, but it's still very smooth and rideable. So it's a blend of both. So this WR doesn't have the Yamaha Power Tuner app like the FX or the YZ450F. You cannot do this to this bike. I will say this one more time. You cannot do this to this bike. You can, however, purchase a GYTR closed course competition ECU and CCU if you aren't riding on OHV land. If you're using this for closed course competition, you can switch to that. That is available. You can go to Yamaha's website and that you can purchase that, and that'll liven it up. You can use your power tuner, and it's a little bit different than what this power character is. There is not map 1, map 2 switch. You are locked into the map that they have here, and that is for emissions reasons. But for me, here today, I don't think I would want more. Like I said earlier, it has a blend of smoothness, broad power, but yet fan the clutch a little bit. It's exciting. It feels light thanks to this new chassis. So a couple things that I thought that needed some help on this bike. It doesn't come with handguards. Yamaha, you're offering a off-road bike. Let's put some handguards on here. You guys have the skid plate, so you guys understand that you need some protection. Handguards would be nice. Also, another thing that I would like that maybe would benefit me was a little bit stiffer suspension. The stuff is pretty soft. I think it is masked by a really good chassis that's a little bit stiffer in a good way. But I had to go 2 in on the fork compression, slow the rebound down 1, and then go 2 in on the low speed compression on the shock. Ran about 104 millimeters of sag, and that seemed to be the happy point to this bike. If I was going to push and charge and slam into some faces of some rocks or some whoops that we have out here in California, I would like to have a little bit extra holdup. It is very nice in the small chop, in the rocks. I like that I can come out of a corner on a tight trail and you have those acceleration bumps that, the slower guys kind of form as you're chugging along. It's almost like a set of whoops. So you're coming out of this corner, you have this gack, 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 gack. This bike soaks up that very well. But if you hit anything bigger, you're going to feel how soft it is and it moves in the stroke a lot. So I would like a little bit better holdup. Another thing that I wanted to know is the 1350 gearing. It comes with a 1350 gearing, unlike a YZ450F that has a 1349. It's geared a little bit different, so you guys can use lower gears and lug and chug your way along through these cobby sections that you guys are going to encounter on the WR. So I assume that I will stick with this gearing for a while and see if maybe if I could use first gear a little bit more, I might go down to a 1349 if it helps first gear in some situations. But otherwise, the gearing's really good. I like that when I stop and me and Spencer here behind the camera, we're talking, the fan comes on, it cools the bike down, it had no heating issues. And overall, the layout of the bike is very nice. I feel like it's less fat than the YZ450F. What I do like as well is there is a bigger tank under here, but yet the shroud area doesn't get wider. That is to be noted. A lot of you guys complain about how fat the YZ450F feels. This thing up front did not gain any girth just because we have a larger tank. The tank goes farther up underneath. It keeps this the same as a YZ, so that is good. Otherwise, man, I have a great time today. It was the most relaxing ride I've had in a long time. As I get older, I appreciate trail riding more, and I can appreciate how well a bike works when I'm out riding the trails, especially when it's 5 minutes from my house. It's a fun time. Yamaha should be rewarded with you guys out there looking into a WR450 because it is a fun bike. A couple things I would add on to it to make it trail friendly, but nonetheless, 18-inch rear wheel, Dunlop tires, solid package. As you know, Yamahas are reliable, and overall, just a very fun machine. Had a great time today. If you guys are looking for more tests or you guys have questions, you can go to racerxonline.com. You can hit me up, Chris at KieferIncTesting.com. I'm happy to help you answer some questions. And don't forget, subscribe. 12 issues, the RacerX publication. Lots of things in the magazine that you can't see here online. So that's good stuff over there. Come back next week. We're going to talk about the YZ450FX. We're going to do some moto. We're going to do some trails, a little bit of hybrid bike. So we'll see you here on the next go around.